The safari park seemed to be in its final stage for a while now. New attractions, dinosaurs, and merchandise were unleashed every other week, it seemed. Headlines of blogs and newspapers were enthusiastic about the new hybrids, but also mentioned the failure of the Velociraptor petting zoo. Not a failure due to a technical malfunction, nor someone getting eaten. Rather, the fact that no one dared to get too close to a Velociraptor made the attraction not a success. To distract the people and quickly move heads, the shipment of the park's newest addition was greenlit, the Spinosaurus. The giant carnivore was a big attraction back during the days of the park's zoo. Its imposing fin could already be seen looming above the fence at the interstop before being transferred to the safari route. The newest zone was considered too small, and thus the Spinosaurus would need to be put in an existing pen. It was decided to put the giant together with the Carcharodontosaurus couple. This way, the Spinosaurus could shine in all its greatness, yet the playful penmates would not lose their own shine since they would be hard to miss along the U-shaped route. Like so many carnivores before, the Spinosaurus was designed to be docile. Its size was bigger than a T-Rex, so it was bound to impose just on that alone. The Carcharodontosaurus seemed very surprised, though excited, with the arrival of their new neighbor. They did cling up together even more than usual, just as a precaution to sense what this new intruder was up to. There was no doubt that the Spino could easily kill both of the smaller predators, but its docile manner made the two feel at ease eventually. Though the Spinosaurus was indeed docile, it hurried after the car with the rangers when they performed their initial test run. At first glance, there was panic amongst the rangers. The Spino roared and came so close that they assumed defensive measures. But maybe it was just playful or excited that the car came in, as the Spinosaurus did not stop yelling all throughout. It made the rangers scratch their head a bit, and they wondered if signs should be put up for visitors to drive slowly. With the new carnivores in place, it was time to add another herbivore. This time, something would need to be set right. With the first launch of the Troodon pen, a significant incident occurred where the paired-up plant eaters were attacked by the little critters. Thus, many of them were lost, including the peaceful Maiasaurus. The physical build of the Maiasaurus was somewhat similar to that of an iguanodon, and thus it was decided to add 5 of these to the iguanodon zone. The Maiasaurus that would be added had a larger variety in color patterns, though there were some who raised an eyebrow as they were afraid that the pen would get too crowded with 5 specimens being added. People were also still waiting if green light would be given to add something to the Tyrannosaurus zone. There was room enough, but what creature would blend in perfectly and still get an even amount of attention as the mighty T-Rex? The coming of the Maiasaurus resulted in total panic amongst the iguanodon pack. They all sought shelter in the wooded area. As the newcomers were inserted in the zone, they grew accustomed to sharing with nobody. Multiple helicopters descended, its noise explaining the panic amongst the iguanodon. As they were flown in, they headed over the area that recently had adopted the latest Spinosaurus edition. The Mayas were thirsty after their flight and immediately headed towards the nearest drinking spot. Confusion and even a slight panic roamed throughout, as both packs did not understand well what was going on. With the Mayasaurus in the same zone as the Iguanodon, the differences in color variation, physical attributes, and behavior could easily be spotted. Though the Mayasaurus would also bunch up together, they would not move as one like the Iguanodon pack did. It was interesting to note, as the Mayasaurus was less capable of protecting itself compared to their Iguanodon counterpart. The grazing nature, slow movement, and striped patterns made it to where this zone received the nickname of prehistoric zebra zone. And thus, with the so-called zebra zone done, it was time to move towards the next zone along the route. It had an open plain, but the road was narrow and short. Too much time to gander was not an option. But the terrain was too small for a giant dinosaur, and thus smaller creatures that were still easily visible were chosen as the new inhabitants. This zone would be another mixed one, but first, the plumpy Styracosaurus was chosen for this spot. There was a long debate on what kind of creature would be shown next, a variety of the stegotype, the ankylotype, or the trichtype. Eventually the trichtype was chosen, which would also influence the next creature that would be added. The zone was not big enough to accommodate an entire herd or even a pack. Thus, only two were flown over. The color contrast between the two was quite extreme. One was light and one was dark. As the zone was a bit smaller and the drinking area was right next to the path, the dinosaurs would always be visible regardless of their position. That meant that more members of the trike family would be added. This time, it was the timid Torosaurus. Though its size was not as imposing as a Triceratops, let alone a Stegoceratops, its color patterns on its crown was beautiful all around. Instead of 2, 3 were added, to showcase the great variety in patterns and color that could be enjoyed. They were moved on a sunny day with perfect wind conditions. This did not matter that much though, as the interdeployment area was not too far off from the latest zone. From the air, it was well visible how little space there was left for the last remaining zones that would be built. The Torosaurus quickly became the favorite amongst young visitors. The shape of its head in regards to its stout body made them give out a cute vibe. They quickly recognized the fellow Styracosaurus as a similar type of dinosaur and could easily live amongst each other. Maybe even another variant could be added. But then news came in of a new hybrid passing through. It was the latest creature coming from this mysterious site. This time, it would be a smaller variant known as a Spinoraptor. The name, like with most hybrids, said it all. It was a hybrid between a Spinosaurus and a raptor. Therefore, it was the smallest hybrid yet. The scientists who represented the deployment promised that these creatures were given the same docile manipulation as all carnivores that came before. Therefore, they insisted to relaunch a campaign of a Velociraptor petting zoo, but instead have the new hybrid be the attraction. Though some might still be scared to get close, the curiosity to get up close and personal with one of these would be enough to at least persuade some. But little did the park rangers know that having these creatures in the park would lead to disaster.